Hey everyone, we are continuing with our developer tooling series, learning all of the tools available to you when you're building on Solana. So today we're going to be learning Surfpool, and we are joined by Micaiah from Surfpool. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Micaiah. Yeah, I'm a co-founder of TXTX, and we've built a tool called Surfpool. I'm based out of Florida. My co-founder Ludo, he's based out of New York, and we've been working on this for probably coming up close to a year now. So yeah, we're excited. I'm excited to share the tool with y'all.
Awesome. So do you want to give just a quick overview before we dive deeper into some questions? Just what is Surfpool and what problem does it solve for Solana developers?
Yeah. So we started TXTX to be what we would call Terraform for Web3. So Terraform is like a kind of a best practice in Web2 for like having a declarative file that manages all of your deployments of like production assets, right? And we wanted a way to do that for Web3. And so we were building a tool. We started on the Stacks blockchain and on Ethereum to like pretty much you have a declarative file that describes what's going on chain and how it's being signed and all of that stuff to increase the security of on-chain things, like getting things on chain for developers. We knew we would do Solana eventually, but we hadn't had experience with Solana yet. I came from Ethereum. My co-founder came from the Stacks blockchain. So we started on Solana, started like kind of understanding how Solana works. We were going to build our Solana driver for this tool, and we submitted it for Coliseum. And as we were learning more about Solana and we started to kind of grasp the account model, we really just liked it. We loved the energy of just like people building and are we going to write some code? We will. Hopefully. And yeah, so we really just loved Solana, and then we ended up winning the Coliseum Hackathon for the Dev Tools infrastructure track. So sorry, you asked what is Surfpool. One side of it is that infrastructure as code for the Solana blockchain. So we have this side where we can help you get your stuff on chain securely and do indexing and things like that. But then also coming from Ethereum and other blockchains, we thought it was wild that there's no way to like have a local validator that has mainnet data. And so my co-founder was part of the Turbine Advanced cohort, and he started on this for a project like, hey, people need this, so let's just start building it. And then we kind of married those two tools into one, and that is Surfpool. So it is a local validator that forks mainnet, and it is also a tool to help you securely get your programs on chain.
Awesome. Yeah, and I love that. So you came from the Ethereum ecosystem, so you have experience building over there. And if you look at Surfpool's README, it says this is the Solana's anvil. And I know a lot of people coming over from the EVM space is always asking, where is this tool suite available for Solana? And we did have a need for it. Do you mind just explaining like what is Anvil for Ethereum for people that have never built with Ethereum and why you thought that was useful coming over here? I know you kind of like explained it already, but just a little bit
Yeah,
more.
for sure. So yeah, when I was on Ethereum, I actually worked on a tool called Ganache. Do you know Ganache?
I've heard of it, but
Okay, so it
no.
is the predecessor to the predecessor of Anvil. So before Anvil was Hardhat, and I mean Hardhat's still around, and before that was the Truffle suite of tools and Ganache. Ganache was like the first Ethereum simulator that would fork mainnet, and then Hardhat built something, and then Anvil Foundry was built with Rust. So yeah, I mean it is a way to have locally a simulator of the Ethereum blockchain that is pulling mainnet data as you need it. And so, I mean, it's kind of crucial. Like the Solana test validator is obviously used very heavily in development. It's a crucial part of the development life cycle for any blockchain. But there's a lot of things that are just easier when you have the mainnet data, particularly with Solana, where you have these CPIs into other programs that is not possible or not easy on unless yeah on the test validator. And so we just saw that need, like, okay, there's no real version of this for Solana, we need to build it. We kind of said Solana, Anvil for Solana, so those from Ethereum would be familiar, but it's kind of grown beyond that. Like, because of certain things about how the SVM works compared to the EVM, there's a lot of really cool features that we can do on Surfpool that aren't even possible on Anvil. So we've kind of, it feels like we've exceeded what Anvil does in many ways. So I don't know if
Awesome.
Anvil Solana for Solana is really even accurate anymore, but
Well, it's great. You're just progressing past your original vision. Cool. So I did not come from the EVM space, but I came from Cosmos. And when we needed to run any like local validator on our machine, it was different because state is stored differently, where it's stored in the smart contract rather than accounts. And if you wanted to just simulate mainnet on a local validator, all you did was take a snapshot of the last block and then run that in your validator. It's very different with Solana because state's stored in accounts. So it's a more challenging project. So do you want to just go over like how did you tackle that with like pulling mainnet state for account?
yeah, well, so it is more and less challenging for Solana. It's just different because of the account model. Like you said, data is stored in accounts rather than like in a tree, like in Ethereum. Whenever you send a transaction, every single account involved needs to be specified in the transaction. Right. And so because of that, whenever we built this validator, whenever we process a transaction, before we actually send it to the VM to be processed, we can look at all the accounts involved. So we can, there's a list of accounts on the transaction. If it's if it's got an address lookup table, we can pull those accounts and look at, find all the accounts involved. And then we can just say, does this account live locally? If so, use that one. Otherwise, fetch it from some other RPC, fetch that account data. And so anytime you send a transaction, before it's processed, we look at all those accounts, check if it's here locally. If not, fetch it from mainnet and insert it locally. And so now you're just recreating the exact mainnet state locally as you're processing the transactions. There still are some slight things that make this difficult with Solana because the state of the VM could kind of change from slot to slot as you're pulling these accounts. But for the most part, that's like a real edge case that we want to solve eventually. But right now, we just pull those accounts exactly as they are right now on mainnet, if that makes sense.
Okay, awesome. So I know like working with the Solana test validator that comes with the Solana tool suite, you're anytime you're trying to test out your program, like you said, if you need multiple accounts, you have to make sure all of those accounts are loaded in. So like, for example, if I'm using an Oracle from Pyth, I need to take the mainnet Pyth, clone it, and then deploy it onto my local validator. So I guess you mentioned that Surfpool, does it automatically pull this, or are you like manually listing the accounts? Like, how does that part work?
Yeah, no, it's just automatically. So we have this validator that pretty much it's using light SVM under the hood, which is amazing. It's really fast, and it is recreating the VM in a very lightweight way. So we can run transactions, and it will have the expected result and alter those account states when the transaction is processed. So we have that part. Before that is an RPC layer, right? So you make an RPC request like fetch an account or send a transaction. And so what Surfpool does is we've created this RPC layer. We are using light SVM under the hood. Between those, we pre-process every RPC request. We check, are you asking for an account? If not, fetch it right away. Are you sending a transaction? Fetch all those accounts. And so with that, you don't have to, configure like, okay, this transaction needs these accounts, download these, upload them to Surfpool. We're just going to fetch it for you and make it happen right on the fly. So if your program needs to CPI into something, you just call the program and it's just going to work. It's kind of the experience we're wanting to give developers, so they don't have to think about that anymore.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because I know testing locally used to be quite a pain, having to pull in all of those accounts and having to understand, like, what accounts you need to pull in and how to find them and where's the address coming from. It's
Yeah,
quite a pain, and if you forgot one, you'd have to restart again and reload your entire test ledger and simulate your test validator. So,
yeah,
definitely huge pain point that Surfpool just kind of fixes, which I'm excited to see in the demo in a bit. Um, and I want to just go over the questions really quick before we go through anything else. Um, but are we going to write some code? Yes, we're gonna have a demo in a bit. And yes, it's time to learn Surfpool. So everyone take some notes. And we have one question just about getting started on Solana. Maybe I would love to hear your opinion because I've answered this question a few times. So I love hearing like other people's thoughts here, especially considering you came from EVM. What's your advice here for getting started with Solana?
okay. That's a good question. How to level up myself to get into the ecosystem and have better job offerings on the ecosystem. Yeah, the thing that I've loved about Solana is that there are many people who are very like interested in helping you. Like the fact that something like Turbine exists is just amazing. So if you have the money for it, trying to go to events and meeting people in person, like I think just an in-person connection is always a super helpful thing in terms of just meeting the right people and getting a job. Um, I mean, anything programming to me, it just comes down to practice, practice, practice. So keep writing code. I mean, that's all there is to it, in my opinion. Meet people, be a good person, and keep practicing.
Awesome. Yeah, I think one thing with Solana is your GitHub is your resume. It's you just build some stuff and see where it takes you. Make
Yeah,
some issues and PRs to a lot of different projects. I know we'll talk about in a bit how opportunities are available to contribute to Surfpool and
yeah.
what exactly the future of Surfpool looks like. So seeing cool projects that you're interested in, just making some PRs there and how can you contribute. Cool. And then we have a question about the Rust course. That's being edited, so stay tuned, and that'll be live soon. And then demo videos with Surfpool. So we're actually going to be doing a live demo in just a second. So it will be now on this video that we can point people to. Cool. So I have just a few more questions, but they're a little bit more technical and less high level. So maybe let's just go into the demo and then we can have some questions as we go through. Does that work for you?
Sure.
Cool. Let's get started. I will add your screen. And
All
I'll
right.
get rid of the chat for now, just so everyone can see. And if you could just zoom in a bit more, because
Yes.
it tends to, a lot of people watch on Twitter, which shrinks the screen a bit. So
How's that?
perfect.
All right. And I'm actually going to pull up new terminal window and I should zoom that in a lot. How's that?
Looks great.
Okay. So I'm going to just do the very, very basics for anyone who's not seen it before. You run Surfpool, start, and you got this pretty little terminal UI validator, right? So it's
So,
just
wait, really quick before that, just like installation on Surfpool, just
oh
for
yeah.
so people are aware how to get that CLI.
So we have a brew tap, so you can do brew tap txtx. Sorry, yeah, txtx/taps. That will download everything and then brew install Surfpool. So that's on Mac OS. We were on Snapcraft. We're still on Snapcraft technically, but they have some things that they're working through that we haven't been able to upgrade to the latest version. So currently, the way to install on Linux is to just download from source. It's an open source project, and build it. So we have instructions here. Hopefully it's not too painful. Install from source, clone the repository, cd surfpool, cargo surfpool install. That should do it, and then you're good to go on Linux.
Perfect.
Okay, and I'll do actually Solana test validator. So many people are probably used to using the test validator. If I do something, actually, I'm gonna Solana test validator. I'm going to reset it, so it's just starting with a blank slate. And then if I do, let me zoom in again. Solana account. I'm just going to fetch some account that exists on mainnet. I mean, wait, keep going until I think that's USDC.
Yes.
It does not exist, right? If I do the same thing, but instead of the test validator, I do Surfpool start, and I do the same exact request, I get a response, right? So Surfpool, this Solana account request is sending an RPC request, get account info. Surfpool is receiving that request, saying, oh, I don't know about this account. Let me go get it from mainnet. And that's what it did. And then it inserts that locally and returns the result. And so that's like the very simple use case. But things get a bit cooler when we get into a Anchor project. So, I mean, or a Pinocchio project. It doesn't matter what you're using. But so here I've got a program. It is called Split Token Transfer. It has got one instruction where you are, let me look at the accounts. So there's a sender and two recipients of some token. And so there's the sender token account and the recipient token account and all the programs that you need. But essentially, you send it some amount and two recipients, and it's going to cut that amount in half and send it to each recipient. So I don't know why you would want a program like this, but maybe it's a bit contrived, but it kind of showcases some things that we can do here. So I am at the root of this project, and if I do Surfpool start here, it's going to detect what program that you have programs locally. So again, this works for Anchor projects or Pinocchio projects. It's going to see, oh, you've got some programs here. Would you like to deploy them? You only have to do this phase once, but it's going to generate those things that we talked about earlier, the run book. So it's creating a couple of files here. You can press enter, and now you'll see a bunch of transactions are being sent. So, okay, we have deployed our program to Surfpool now. And we can take a look at this folder that was generated called runbooks. And we have inside of this runbooks, we have this deployment folder and all these files. So these TX files, all together, these make up one runbook. And what these runbooks do is they describe your on-chain infrastructure. So like, we need to get something on chain, right? So I need to get my program on chain. So I have these different actions you can take. I guess quick note, docs.surfpool.run. We have all of these actions documented. So like what they do and what are the fields you can or need to provide. But we generate it for you automatically. But this SVM deploy program action is going to deploy a program to the SVM. And then you can say, like, what is the program? I'm getting the program from an Anchor project, and I just provide the name, and it's going to get all of this stuff you need to deploy, right? There's a key pair involved. There's the actual binary. There's an IDL. There's all this stuff that's needed. And then you can say, like, who's gonna pay for this deployment? And we're referencing this thing called signer.payer, which I'll explain. And who's going to be the final authority? Who's going to own this program? And so we're setting all these fields. And then we have these other files that are defining the signers for a different environment. So what's cool about this is when you're getting something on chain, when you are on LocalNet, you just want to be able to quickly iterate, right? You want to just deploy a program, test something, deploy it again, test something, deploy it again. Security is not as much of a concern. It's all localhost. And so for that, we can just use our local key pair. So we're defining those signers we referenced earlier, right? The deployment is being paid for by a signer called payer, and who's going to own it at the end, who will be the authority of this program, is signer.authority. We are defining those here. Whenever we execute this runbook on localnet, the payer will be this type of payer, just a secret key signer. And this is where the key pair lives, right? And same thing, we're defining an authority. So we can do the same thing, just deploying the program, but in different environments, we can have different signers. So whenever I go to mainnet, I can do a squad signer, like I can do SVM squads, or I can do a web wallet signer. And so that's kind of how we're helping to increase the security, is that like you can get used to your flow for how to get something on Surfpool locally, but you can do the exact same flow for getting to mainnet, but you can swap in more secure signing methods like a squad signer.
Also, just for anyone watching that's not familiar with squads is how we can do multi-sigs on Solana.
Yeah.
So definitely check out, it's a great UI, makes multi-sigs very easy to use on Solana. It's squads protocol.
Yes, very good. Good. Thanks for saying that.
It's easy to forget like things that feel normal here.
Yeah.
For people that are newer. So just wanted to chime in real quick.
I can also introduce something here. So you'll see on the top right, there's a link to, we call Surfpool Studio. If I open that up. So here we have a transaction inspector, which is really cool, and I'll get to soon. But it's got some information about what's the RPC URL, where is the mainnet data coming from, what is your WebSocket URL. But we can also start and stop the clock. So there are some programs that you'll be testing that maybe are dependent on like a certain time of something unlocks. You can start and stop it. You can change the slot. You can change the date, and it will just kind of hack the validator. And then you can
UI here also. It's just very intuitive and easy to read and understand what's happening. So
thank you. That is all my co-founder Ludo. He's doing a great job at this.
Awesome.
And actually, I'm going to open this on Safari because I have a weird setup on Brave. Okay, so we also have this faucet that is not just for Sol. It's pretty cool. So I can say, all right, I need an account with Sol, but I need it to also have USDC, and I need it to have Jupe, and I can paste in an address, or I can just do this to generate one. And I've got this account. So now this wallet is funded with USDC, Jupe, Sol. So that's another thing. Like if you were using the test validator, I've pulled all the accounts that I need to CPI into, but now I need to test transferring a token or doing a swap or something like that. Okay, well now I need to have a wallet that has all of these assets. So now I need to tell my test validator, like I need to download the USDC contract and upload it to the validator. And then I have to like somehow do a bridge or like get funds, right? We can just write to those token accounts. So you can just give yourself all of the funds you need to be doing your tests.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I want to showcase one more thing on the studio side. It will require just a little bit of setup here. So like I said, this runbooks folder, we've put in all these files that define the deployment runbook. And this tx.yaml is kind of what defines where these runbooks live. So I have a runbook called deployment, and it lives here. I have another runbook here already that actually invokes this. So I'm going to just add it to this manifest.
Also, 1 second before we move on to this topic, we had a question in the chat. Well-integrated faucet, who did it? If you want to go over that really quick.
Arthur. Arthur had a hand in that faucet. So that was, I mean, it was a team effort. Ludo, my co-founder, did a lot of the designs, and it was his idea to have this USDC or like token account faucet. Um, the actual RPC methods that are used, the cheat codes, I think that was I did the set token account cheat code, and Arthur helped with that, and then Arthur has done a few different bug fixes to get this working seamlessly. So yeah, it's a team effort.
Awesome. Little
Yeah.
shout out there.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks, Arthur. So yes, I have this runbook file that's already here, where I can demonstrate some things, but I've just added that to the manifest. So I added a new runbook called send tokens, and it lives here. It's this file. So now if I do Surfpool run send tokens, and I'm going to pass in the environment we're running against, localnet. It's actually going to, you can do these in what's called a supervised mode, where we've got a locally hosted thing where you can step-by-step like see all of the transactions you're signing. You can, like, in my runbook, I have created these variables that I can make editable in this UI. So like, okay, I'm going to start the runbook. Okay, this is the program I'm invoking. This is the mint address. Since I've made this editable, you can say, okay, I don't want to transfer USDC. I want to do some other account. And you can set the token program. You can say who the recipients are. You can paste this all in. You can set the amount you're sending. And then here's the actual transaction we're calling. I'll approve, and we sent it. Cool. So now we've invoked the program. If I go to the studio, we'll have a new transaction here. And I want to showcase this transaction inspector. This gives a breakdown of not just what account changes have happened in the transaction, but every single instruction in the transaction. You can see a before and after. You can see the CO usage for each instruction, but also like the account state. So with this, we can see my instruction required a lot of accounts. We've got the program being called. This is my custom program that was deployed. We've got the system program, token account. We can see this account was updated. So it started with this amount of the token, and it was left with this amount. We can see this new account was created, a new SPL token account. And now it has this amount. So you can see all of this stuff, even like custom accounts created by the program are all indexed. And so you can like see the parsed data here in this Explorer. Super cool. And then also links to the actual Solana Explorer, where you can see some additional information. So this Surfpool Studio, super powerful for like, what is my program doing, and getting like really deep introspection into that. Yeah, we're really excited about this. So hopefully it's helpful for users.
Yeah, this is awesome. I also just love the entire UI that you made. I think like just simulating an environment locally is kind of intimidating to wrap your head around when you're new to Solana in general. So this just puts it all into perspective and gives you a way to interact with it and see everything that's happening. So I love it. It's awesome.
Thank you. And I got to say, shout out to my co-founder Ludo. He's done all of the design stuff. He's done a great job with all of that.
It's great. Cool.
Are there more questions?
Just some people talking about how great Surfpool is. So
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, this is the time if anyone does have questions or wants to, ask anything while we have Makaya's time. Like this is the time to do so. It's one of the people that's actually building and founding the project, so it's great to have his time right now. But while we're waiting on that, I just have a few more questions. One was just curious. You said that this is a wrapper around light SVM. So Light SVM is a testing tool. I think we'll have a video on that coming out soon for anyone that's not familiar with it. And a lot of the projects coming up with the Solana Bootcamp is also going to be using Light SVM to test. But just curious from your perspective, like why did you pick Light SVM for this?
Yeah, a few different reasons. I mean, we're a Rust shop, but I guess everything on Solana is built with Rust, so that's not really much of a reason. But um, it is super fast, super lightweight, just really well-made tool. My co-founder Ludo, he was at Breakpoint last year, and he met Arson, and they're both French and really, hit it off. And so, when Ludo went through the SVM advanced cohort and was looking for a project to do, he wanted to just do something that benefited the ecosystem and that, was supporting friends and tooling that friends had made. And it just felt like a natural fit. So, yeah.
Awesome. Makes sense. So, just to kind of reiterate, like in a quick summary for anyone that is choosing between using Surfpool to test locally or just interacting with like DevNet or testnet, like why would you want to use Surfpool? And how does that help just kind of your general developer experience?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this, and I don't want to overstate things, but at this point, I'm like, I don't know why you would go to DevNet.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm sure there are great reasons too, but like um, a public network like that, it has the advantages of like it's more real, right? It's getting closer to what it will actually to be like to go to mainnet. But that's not really true for DevNet because when you have to CPI into another program, that program you need to CPI into, it may not exist on DevNet. And so it's like kind of already deviated from reality, right? Or maybe it does exist on DevNet, on DevNet, but for whatever reason, when the developers of that protocol deployed it, they used a different program ID on DevNet than it is on mainnet. So again, it's just not the same. Um, Surfpool is giving you like a clone of mainnet. So it's like whenever you're deploying to Surfpool, you are getting an experience that is exactly like what it will be like on mainnet, except for that it's local. We do have something for that. So we have some cloud offerings that we're currently working on expanding, but you can have just like a hosted DevNet. So you want to get more to what it will be like on mainnet, not have things local, like everything's super fast locally, right?
Mhm.
So if you want it to be more real, or you want to collaborate with a team, so you have something publicly hosted, or even you're ready for a beta release and you want to get users interacting with your protocol, but you want it a way that's free or just like really easy for them. We have you can do Surfpool Cloud Start, and it'll ask you some questions. Okay, the name. Okay, free demo description. You can say like set what the upstream RPC to fetch mainnet data is, how blocks are produced. Cool. And so,
Wow, this is awesome. I think so usually whenever I want to share like my local environment, I always ngrok whatever my local host is, and
yeah,
it's just several steps and kind of annoying. So this is really nice just to
yeah,
add that into Surfpool natively.
exactly. So yeah, it's like doing that now. Whenever you go to this link here, you'll see the networks you've created. It's got the same transaction inspector, the same faucet, but you can see you've got an HTTPS RPC URL. And so now you can deploy your protocol to this. Your team can collaborate on this network. Or like, okay, I've got 10 users that I want to try on this network. I can set them up with accounts with all the tokens they need, right? And I can say, okay, start using the protocol, and they've got free money to start testing stuff on. So at this point, I don't know why you would use DevNet or TestNet instead of something like this.
Yeah,
I'm possibly a little bit biased, but
no, it's really great. Yeah, I'm excited, especially excited for people that are going to be watching this video to test it out and like leave like your comments and thoughts because we're always trying to make building on Solana better, and I think this is a really huge step into making things easier. So excited to see where this goes. And with that, we do have a question in the chat that is, what are the next things the team is planning to add for the projects?
Yeah, great question. So the right now we've kind of maybe for a week or two. I don't know. I don't know if you've seen any of the Soul Andy videos about Surfpool.
I haven't. I'm a bit behind on his videos. I need to catch up here.
Yeah, I'm starting to think it's going to be a monthly roast of Surfpool,
Okay.
which we appreciate. So he has figured out every single bug that we did or did not know about, and put it on a YouTube video, and it's been really great feedback. And so we've spent a few weeks just like trying to just make things as stable as possible. Like, we go through phases of add a lot of features and like, okay, now everyone report all of your bugs to us so we can get everything fixed. And we've been working on fixing things. And so we'll spend some more time on stabilization because, as more and more people use this, we want it to just always work exactly as you expect it. In addition to that, there's a lot to be done on documentation and guides and examples. Even in this call, like I've not done many features that we have available. Like I haven't shown all of them. And so we need some comprehensive guides to showcase all that stuff. So we're going to be spending some time on that. And then actual features that we're excited about. Actually, I'll add one more before the features. We also want to get stabilization, education, and integration with other tools. So like users want to be able to use this whenever you run Anchor test for it to just automatically spin up your SurfNet, and kind of integrating with existing tools more seamlessly is something we'll be working on. And then finally, some features that we're excited about. You had mentioned pulling an Oracle, having to download like a Pith Oracle state. If you were using the test validator, you'd have to download that account state, and inject it to your test validator. Surfpool will fetch it automatically for you, but an Oracle is really valuable when it's constantly updated, right? Like if I just have the Oracle account state once, it's not really being an Oracle. It's only an Oracle if it tells me like real live data, right?
Yeah.
So setting up where I can set some accounts to constantly stream from mainnet so that anytime it's you reference that account, it's always pulling live mainnet data.
It's cool.
I think would be really, really helpful for people. We've introduced a lot of cheat codes, like just like hacking the SVM to give yourself any amount of any token or any amount of soul, or I own this program. But there's a lot more of those that we can be doing, including things like streaming Oracle data and stuff like that we'll be working on. And then one of our goals is to be like a sustainable dev tooling company, not to like always be having to live off of grants. And so we're going to have some, cloud tooling that will automatically index your programs for you and stuff like that.
Awesome. That's really cool. I know you mentioned having this auto integrated with Anchor test in the future, and you also mentioned like working on more docs in the future, but we do have like one question where someone is having issues using Anchor tests. Just curious if currently you have any like docs or guides on that I could point them to.
I don't have any docs or guides on that currently. I've used it for Anchor tests many times. We'll have to work on some guides for that. Well, actually, that's one of our focuses this week is working on our integrations with Anchor Test because more and more people are starting to try and use it that way, and people have had trouble. But yeah, you should be able to start up Anchor without spinning up the test validator. Like there's a flag you can pass in, and then whenever you are setting up in your test the RPC endpoint that it's connecting to. You can specify the port. I might have a project handy where I've done this. Let's see. I haven't. Yeah, okay. So I've got some tests here where I'm doing anchor provider local, and this would all work with hitting Surfpool rather than the test validator. So this is the provider I'm using in my anchor tests for all of my, connections to the network. So I suppose this is going to just look at the 8899 port, the default port. So use this code and run your tests. I don't know, that worked for me. But we will be doing more comprehensive testing and guides for this.
Awesome. Cool. And when those are live, I will update the description of this video to have links to those, just so anyone watching this later will be able to access it. But yeah, that's awesome. Cool. And let's see, we have another comment on time travel. Do you have plans on, like, what is the current state of that and plans in the future? I know you already showed being able to pause slots and rewind a bit. So
Yeah, so we have on docs.surfpool.run, we have all of the RPC API endpoints documented. Most of these are standard, but there's this cheat code section. So these are all the specific cheat codes that we've added, and we have one that is time travel. And so you can see an example of the request. Like, you can just set what the epoch will be. So you can pass in a JSON object with either the absolute epoch, the absolute slot, or the absolute timestamp. So essentially that means is you can jump around to whatever time you want. And you just send that as an RPC request. Let me see if I can do that now. Okay, I've got Postman up, SurfNet time travel, and I'm going to, let's see what the epoch is currently. Actually, I'll probably jump slots. Okay, we're at epoch 850. So I'm going to say, let's set the epoch to 900. Send the request, and we'll see time travel to this date successful. And if I go to Studio, we'll see the epoch has been updated. So yeah, all the time travel stuff is should be working. We recently had some bugs with it, people reported, and we should have gotten those fixed. So yeah, it's live.
cool. And then let's see. I know you mentioned having services for indexing in the future, but I'm just curious, like, what's the current state if I wanted to use like Geyser plugins, or just like use Surfpool for indexing? Like, how does it work right now?
Yeah, so Geyser plugins currently are working. So we have an example plugin on our repo. Examples, hello Geyser. It's a simple Geyser plugin.
Awesome.
Yeah, so essentially, for those who don't know what Geyser is, it's as Surfpool processes transactions, it has these hooks that's like, okay, a transactions process or an account is updated. We can send that event to a thread. And if you have loaded these plugins, it will receive those events and you can do something with it, right? And so this example project here is like a compiled library with a cargo.toml and a JSON file with some information pointing to that dynamic library. So if you Surfpool start -G and then you pass in that JSON file, it'll send all of those events to your plugin to process it how you want. Surfpool has integrated in it a Geyser plugin by default that can index your programs. So I can show what that means real quick. In my runbooks, there's this file called subgraphs. And this has a subgraph is like a subset of the chain, right? Just the data you care about. So whenever you call your program, like you get your program live, it's like, how do I know when someone has used it? And how do I extract data from the chain in a way that's meaningful to me? we're trying to solve that problem by having these subgraphs. So like I have this action to deploy a subgraph, and whenever I start Surfpool, it is running that geyser plugin. Essentially what this is doing is saying, okay, anytime this event is emitted by my program, put it in a database. And so we have a geyser plugin that is getting every event, every transaction that's processed, and it's checking, does this program get called? And when that program is called, did it emit this event? If so, put all of that data into a database. And so if you go to Surfpool Studio, you'll see this data indexing, and you can see there's a GraphQL Explorer where you can like build a query. This is that event, and I can query it. We haven't called our program, so there's no events. But if I go Surfpool run, send tokens. Okay, I just called my program, and now if I do this query, I've got data in a database.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's really powerful for like if your program is creating accounts or token accounts or any of that, you can have a database that has all of it. This is all working locally. You can build your front end to point to this GraphQL database and get all the data you need. We are currently working on the mainnet version of this. So whenever that's live, you can build your front end locally using GraphQL with this schema. And then once you go live to mainnet, you just change the backend URL to be something else, but the schema will stay exactly the same. It's going to be a really, really slick developer experience, I think.
Yeah, this is awesome. Love it. It makes the current state of indexing is a bit challenging, so this makes it a lot easier.
Yes, it is difficult. Yeah.
And then we have another question, just going back to, we're talking about oracles for a bit. And this question is, if I want to work with oracles, you said I can't copy oracle state, but I can dump accounts there. How does that work? I couldn't find it in the docs.
Yeah, sorry if I misexplained that. Whenever you reference an Oracle account in Surfpool, like in a transaction that touches an Oracle, it's just the same as any account in that Surfpool is going to fetch it from mainnet. So you don't need to you don't need to dump an account state and do it manually. Surfpool will do that. The thing that's tricky about oracles is an oracle is mainly helpful if it's constantly getting mainnet state, right? It's not if I'm referencing the USDC mint, once I have that program, USDC's contract is not changing. It's the same. It's just a token account, right? So I just need that data locally once, and I've got it, and it's not going to change. An oracle, the account state is constantly changing. That's the point of an oracle, is to be updated with real world data. And so we don't currently have a mechanism to constantly pull in that data and replace your local data with stuff from mainnet again and again and again. That will be a cheat code we're going to be adding, but currently there isn't a way to do that.
Awesome. So it currently has it's able to auto load in the account state of the oracle at the time that you load it in, but it's not able to continuously fetch it for real-time data. So it's just kind of like an optimization that you're going to be doing in the future for using oracles.
Exactly. Yeah, that was well put. And so yeah, you'll have a way to opt in to say like, okay, these are the accounts that I always want pulled from mainnet, and Surfpool will just do that for you automatically.
Awesome. Cool. It looks like that's all the questions we have in the chat right now. I'm just seeing if I had any more questions. But it looks like we've covered pretty much everything as we've just been talking and going through your demo. Do you have anything else that you wanted to cover and talk about?
I think you had one question about how can developers contribute, and I would love to talk about that.
Yes, we would always love to get more people building and contributing to developer tooling for sure.
Yeah, and you'd had someone ask about like how they can, land a job in the Solana ecosystem, and you had mentioned contributing to open source projects and like building your resume on GitHub that was great advice. So I would say the first and easiest thing you can do is use Surfpool. find the bugs, join our Discord, complain about the bugs, and we will get them fixed as soon as possible. Open GitHub issues, that's a huge help. The second thing is we have this repository, Surfpool examples. Like we've got this project that I was using, the split token transfer. We have that here. We have a Pinocchio project. But like there are so many different use cases. If you have one, if you've got a little project that's doing a Jupyter swap and Surfpool made it easier, you can open up a PR here and it'll be a resource for other devs. You get something on your GitHub resume showing something you've worked on and merged into a open source project. So it's helpful for people in the ecosystem and for you. That would be really cool. And then for the brave among you, the actual Surfpool repo, we've got issues documented. Feel free to open a PR. And if you see an issue you're interested, put a comment. We can hop on a call and I can kind of help onboard you to the issue you're working on. But yeah, those would be the 3 ways to contribute.
Awesome. Well, I hope people start contributing. This is definitely a huge help to just the general developer experience on Solana, and that's what's going to push building on Solana to get better in the future. So really excited about it. And for anyone that's watching this in the future, feel free to just leave comments on the video if you have questions about how to contribute if things change in the future. Feel free to ask if you have any ideas, comments, and we will be staying in touch. If you have any more questions for Micaiah, feel free to give a comment. I'll be forwarding them over to him. So yeah, we're just excited to see people trying out new tools and giving feedback. So yeah.
Thank you very much for having me on here.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I know being a founder of a company is quite chaotic, so really happy that you came on here to show us everything with Surfpool. So thanks.